Hello YouTube. This is day 2 of my Desert Southwest photography road trip. I'm at the Eureka Dunes, which is on the north side of Death Valley National Park. Here's the dunes here behind me. I arrived late afternoon, and this is my first time here, so I really don't know the lay of the land. I'm going to kind of sneak around the west side of the dunes here and maybe catch some sunset light on the dunes. That's about the extent of my plan for today. I'll do more thoughtful planning and probably climb up to the tops of the dunes tomorrow. But for today, this is the plan. This is the main dunes here. The campground is just on the other side of that ridge over there. There's the tallest dunes. What I'm trying to get to right now are these little dunes off in the distance. Probably right in there is where I want to get to. So I can look down the little dunes. I can also look back up the main dunes. Probably an untracked area. Not a lot of people go back here. And I might have nice light on it during low light, during sunset. So if there is much of a sunset, it's pretty cloudy right now, so I'm not really anticipating a beautiful sunset, but you never know what might surprise us. It's about a 2-mile walk, so it should take about an hour. Going through the scrub brush here, the sand's a little more firm and easier to walk on. So yeah, so here at the south end of Eureka Valley with the sand dunes. This end of the valley is completely surrounded by mountains, and so in a major precipitation event, which is rare, all the water does flow here. Water that's not absorbed by the land itself, and it can pool back here occasionally. In fact, I think there might be a little bit of water way up there, and it has to just absorb into the ground or evaporate here. So yeah, this valley bottoms at about 3,000 feet. Well, the light is still pretty overcast, and doesn't look hopeful. Sun's going to set in about 40 minutes. I can't see on the other side of that ridge, which is where the sunset's going to be, but I'm 95% sure there's not going to be anything happening. I'll wait it out, but anyway, I did successfully scout out 2 locations. I got this shot here, although the foreground is a little bit busy with animal tracks. The other shot, about 100 yards this way, does look good and has a nice clean foreground. So yeah, 2 good possibilities. I think tomorrow I'm going to probably just climb the main dune at sunrise and see what I can find tomorrow morning. And if there's any luck, we'll have better light, but I'll keep my fingers crossed. Yeah, so here's the second scene, just 100 yards down the ridge from the last one. I think the composition is okay. It has a nice leading line with clean sand. The main dune anchors the upper portion of the composition, but I'm not sure I like the little valley full of brush, and I definitely don't like that flat light. But I've got this location marked on my map, and I can always come back for tomorrow's sunset and have another go at it. Good morning. It's about 7:30. Sun rose about half an hour ago, but these dunes are behind this ridge, big mountain ridge behind me here, and so it takes about an hour for the sun to come up over the ridge. So I'm just scouting locations on the main dune. They're pretty tracked up. The dunes are pretty tracked up with people tracks and animal tracks, but there are some nice intimate scenes here. So my plan is to hike to the top of the main dune there, and in the process of doing that, the sun will rise. Not sure what I'll see at the top, but then the plan would be to come back down and photograph some of the areas I'm scouting now. So yeah, so anyway, there's some scenes in here, some intimate scenes with rippled sand and I think some texture that'll be brought out once the sun hits it. So I think here's an example of a a subject that could work. There's good texture in the foreground. This one simple little bush adds a little point of interest. And it's got a clean foreground and relatively clean background. So this is an example of a spot I'll come back to once the sun clears that mountain ridge. I don't have a lot of experience walking on sand dunes, but what I found is that it is much like walking on steep snow slopes. Here I'm using the classic rest step used in snow mountaineering. Each step involves stepping forward with a kick into the sand, but with your body weight resting on your straight back leg. This gives you a brief moment of rest on your straight back leg, while also letting the sand settle under your front foot. Then repeat with opposite feet. Like snow, it doesn't always work perfect every time, but I definitely feel it helps overall. One thing I see right down there at the base of the dunes is this small pond. Now that looks interesting. I'm imagining a reflection of the dunes in this pond at sunrise. I think this will be my priority for tomorrow morning. Very cool. All right, the last climb to the top of the main dune. All right, made it to the top of the ridge of the main dune, and the sun is now just coming over the ridge line over here on the left. Kind of cloudy, so not sure what kind of quality light I'm going to have. It looks like the kind of situation where it'll be quite variable. Sometimes there'll be a hole in the clouds and you get good direct spotlight. Other times it might be just more diffuse like this, but this isn't bad. At 700 feet, Eureka Dunes are California's tallest sand dunes, and the views are fantastic. I love how the dunes taper off in the distance and how everything is surrounded by all these rugged cliffs. Definitely worth the hike up. All right, I think I've got my first shot here. I'm going to do sort of a tight telephoto lens type shot right along this ridge line with the mountains in the background. So we get set up and we'll see how that comes out. So here's my first composition, a classic undulating ridgeline which invites the eye to wander along it. I decided to exclude the sky to keep the composition tight and limited to the dune ridgeline. But I think I like this wider composition better. The more distant sand dunes in the upper left draw my eye even further to create a sense of greater depth. I'm pretty happy with that shot. Well, here's that pond that I saw from up on the sand dunes. Looks promising as a potential photo subject with a reflection of the sand dunes. So I'm just going to scout along the shoreline. So I'm thinking to include this little tumbleweed in the composition right along the shoreline here. That one right there. Probably off center to this side over here. Maybe something like that. When I'm out exploring compositions, I often use an old slide frame mount to frame up different scenes. It's just a lot faster than having to take my camera out. And when I'm just in this scouting mode, it's just easy to carry this in my pocket and whip it out for, compositional checks. I think this is a good shot for a morning. As the sun rises off to the left, it ought to graze across these dunes and provide some nice contrast. There'll be certain parts of the ridges that'll be in the sun, and then some faces will be in the shade. I think it'll look really nice, but that's assuming that we get some sun. But I think this is a great morning shot. I think I'll make this my priority. I think having the pond here is is a little unique, and so I want to take advantage of that. Yeah, otherwise my Mitsubishi Delica is doing pretty good. It's going through a little bit of oil, but other than that, doing good. If you're interested in the Mitsubishi Delica and how I converted it into a camper van, I have a whole playlist on that, so I'll put a link in the description down below and up here in one of these corners. Oh, good morning. I'm back at the pond at the base of the sand dunes, and things are looking pretty hopeful. The sky looks good. It's got a few clouds in it. The pond is calm, and now I just need to wait for the sun to come up over the mountains here and illuminate the sun dunes. So about 40 minutes later, the sun cleared the ridge and bathed the dunes in warm sidelight. I was able to make 3 images that I was happy with. I think I like this last shot just a bit better than the previous. I like how the bit of foreground shoreline at the bottom of the frame reconnects with the sand dunes at the top. Thank you again for joining me on this episode of my American Southwest landscape photography road trip. Click on the playlist to check out some of the other episodes.